Yeah. That was very cool.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is my guest today, Chris Bailey, drummer Chris Bailey. And that was really cool. I could listen to that for a while, actually.
You're too kind.
Okay. We have a few people joining us. Oh, yeah, Taylor. Wait, Taylor, let's see. Yeah, your birthday, man. You're 26. So old, man.
Ugh, 26. I remember the days.
I do too. 26.
endless eons ago.
An endless energy.
For no reason.
Man, that was good. That was good. I liked 26.
Yeah, those are the days when I could stand up without groaning.
Yeah. Isn't that the unfortunate truth?
Yes.
So Chris and I met in a studio a few months back, and he's so nice and such a great musician, and I wanted to invite him on to the show. So I don't know a lot about him. I know he's English, and
Yeah.
I know what your bio says,
Yeah.
and I have a feeling I have a feeling our point of view of life is probably has some similarities. You live in LA now, though, right?
I do.
Yeah. How long have you lived here?
On and off. God, 17 years.
Oh,
Lived in different places at different points. My ex-wife and I, we moved to Nashville for a few years,
yeah.
which was different. I'll come back to that.
Okay.
We moved to San Diego, but yeah, ultimately we came back to LA when our son was born.
Did you move to those places for music or for just for family or?
Nashville was for music. Again, my ex-wife had a musical situation going on over there, and it just made sense at the time to move.
Yeah.
But there were some unpleasant surprises. The company that originally was behind the project backed out, and Nashville. I know some wonderful people in Nashville that I'm friends with to this day. Unfortunately, they have quite a unique system as far as work and work opportunity. They're loyal to their own.
Yeah.
And when I say their own, I mean those who they know and have relationship with. And if you're new to town, you have to get in line, basically. I visited every studio. Oi, doing an interview here. Hold on. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. They what was I saying?
You were talking about Nashville.
Yes. So I visited every studio I knew, listed off, all my credits and things I've been blessed to do over the years. And the response was, cool, buddy.
Wow.
Get in line. Basically.
Yeah.
And I couldn't afford to do that. So we left, came
Yeah.
back to LA.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess Nashville is kind of a small town or small town mentality, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all I know is it was slower than LA. I'd lived in LA and quite possibly have been spoiled at that point. Yeah, everything moved a bit slower than I was used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
LA is really there's a lot of different things going on. And I think
Yeah.
they're just more open, you know.
Yeah. There's pros and cons. Yeah.
If you had your druthers, would you live somewhere else?
Honestly, no. I've lived a few places, and I found that there really is nowhere like LA for everything that it is
Yeah,
and everything that it isn't. And it's little things like when I lived in the Midwest, wasn't quite as trendy. Even things like getting green tea was difficult. Everything was just regular and slow and not quite as hip as
yeah,
LA, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Nice folks, but just different vibes.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, well, like, let's see. So, you must have been relatively young when you moved away from England. I
Did you
mean,
just call me young? I like that.
I think yeah, well, yes, I did actually, 'cause you don't appear that old. But
Well, thank you. I'll take it.
I would imagine that you were on the younger side when you moved out of London.
Yeah, yeah, I was. Um, God, seems like so long ago now. Um, yeah, I was at the time I left London. I was playing for a guy called Daniel Bedingfield.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it was one of those unique situations at the time where he had me on retainer. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
those were
good
the
old
days.
the good
Yeah.
old days.
Wow.
Just he was like, you can play for other people, but when I call, I need you there, and I'm paying you to be available whenever I need you. And I was like, okay, cool, that'll work. But I met my ex-wife, and we fell in love, and the distance was causing problems. So I came over here and just took a chance, left it all behind, and came over here to start again, basically.
Yeah.
Um, what was interesting was as I was networking and meeting people and going to gigs and whatnot, people knew me that I didn't know knew me, because I played on a gospel album by an artist called Donnie McClurkin,
Okay.
and he had a song called "We Fall Down" that was big on the gospel charts over here. Like, it was a huge song, so a lot of musicians had heard of me while I'm introducing myself, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Strange to me, but cool, because the album didn't do astronomical numbers in the UK, but it did well here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a nice stepping stone, if you will.
Definitely.
Hmm.
Yeah, life is interesting, isn't it? How that happens, right?
Yeah, it really is. You never know. You just never know. It's so unpredictable. It's hilarious at times.
It really is.
Honestly.
It really is, man. Sometimes you just gotta shake your head like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Basically, you get to an age where you realize, I don't know anything. I know absolutely nothing about anything.
Yeah, and you go straight ahead, right? You try and be a good person and
Yeah,
you try and do your job well and or you do your job well and then and you yeah, and you just kind of expand your area and then it really is the universe really it has a wave that we're riding, you know.
yeah,
That's just it, man.
yeah. Because ultimately, regardless of how you feel about it, things are going to be what they are.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Roll with it or drive yourself crazy trying to change what you got?
Yep.
You know, perspective changes with age.
Yeah, I was even listening to you know, one of my YouTube spiritual, you know, guru people that I was listening to. And what I like, she said, you know, be happy with where you are, even if
Yeah,
it's not what you want. Like she was talking to somebody who was overweight and kind of was looking ahead, you know, and trying to, you know, self-talk, you know, I'm thin and, you know, whatever.
yeah,
And this person said, you're creating the problem over and over and over when you do that.
right.
Be happy with where you are.
Hmm.
Have that, you know, as a goal,
Yeah,
but be happy with where you are, and then that you'll get to the goal, you
yeah,
know, with no problems. And I like that way of thinking, uh, as you said, you don't work against the flow of the universe.
Mhm.
Just go with it.
Right,
And
right.
look around, make the best. It's kind of like playing music, right? Something
Yeah.
gets thrown in, and what do? You
Mhm.
don't stop. You create
Right,
with it.
right. I think it's that old chestnut of change what you can, leave what you can't, and have the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah, yeah. That is a good chestnut.
Yeah, it's balance at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know,
Balance. I love that.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I tend to see things in really simple form. In that going back to what you said about the lady who was overweight. I did a post a while ago, and basically it said, you know, if you don't want to be overweight, if you're comfortable, all right, cool. But if you're not, and you're wearing oversized clothes to try and hide your fat, which I've done, as somebody that struggled with weight all my life, just make changes. Don't eat as much. Make better food choices.
Yeah.
Go to the gym. If you can't go to the gym, go for a walk. Make the changes. And little by little, piece by piece, the weight will come off. But don't do nothing and then just sit there and complain about it. That don't change anything.
Yeah.
Just makes you feel bad.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
something.
Exactly. like from when I was a younger person, around 26, um,
Right.
I thought I learned that anything actually can be solved by two things: being able to look at it, confront it,
Right.
and taking responsibility.
Absolutely.
And that's it. Anything can be solved with that.
Yeah.
Just make decisions and that's it.
I realized that it's more to do with how you think
Yeah.
because you can have the exact same situation, but when you change your perception about it, it looks different.
Yep.
I've done it 1,000 times, and I'll never forget I was going through something and I was speaking to a friend of mine who encouraged me. And he said, now, what's changed about your situation right now? I said, nothing. He said, but you feel different, don't you? I was like, okay, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a good thing to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because ultimately, driving yourself crazy up here about a situation doesn't change the situation.
Right.
It just drives you crazy.
Yeah.
So why do that?
Yeah. I think I have written a lot about that, in my songs. You
Yeah.
know, just like change your point of view. Um, I
Yeah.
like that a lot. I think that's a good message to give
Yeah.
out there.
The the vantage point is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the cool thing is I'm still learning as I go. Like literally every day there's a new lesson to learn. And it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to screw up. But at the end of the day, you make a concerted effort to be the best version of yourself and not beat yourself up for things you could have done, should have done, would have done. That time's gone.
Yeah.
Now's all we have. Literally all we have. Yesterday doesn't exist. Tomorrow's not here yet. All we've got is right now. Make a good choice today.
Yeah.
What else can you do?
I can't remember. Maybe I guess I was talking with one of the people on the Noontime show. We were talking about our fathers. Um, or maybe, oh, no, no, actually, it was with a friend of mine who's a singer.
Mhm,
Um, and it was so interesting that we both had fathers who were screw ups in some way,
mhm,
but also, just there. Like my
mhm,
dad was there. He, he supported us, but he was making some really strange ethical choices, and
mhm.
um, kind of screwed us up along the way as far as young, growing, children
Right.
watching their father, you know, And but and it wasn't until much later that I finally realized he did the best he could in the moment. That was what it was,
Wow.
you know.
Wow. I was waiting. I was like, I know she's gonna say what I think she's gonna say. And
Yeah,
you did.
yeah. And my friend, she had a similar experience too.
Yeah,
And I mean, yeah, but it takes a while to grow out of in that situation, it takes a while to grow out of, you know, the child perspective. It's your dad, and
right.
there's problems going on and whatever. And then, yeah, but anyway, you're right. It's just you do the best you can do, and it doesn't necessarily make you right or the things that people do, always right, but
Right.
you know, we're
I
all on the
do.
same learning lesson, right?
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
all, and if you don't, like you said, if you don't see lessons all around you, you got to get new glasses, man, because there are lessons all around you.
Yeah. I had a conversation with my dad a few years ago. Um, and it was very interesting. Your viewpoint changes from that of a jaded kid
Yeah,
to one who has some life experience and can look back in hindsight and recognize that, hey, it's not what I thought it was. And I remember my dad said to me one day, I got some things wrong. I made some mistakes. I said, yeah, but dad, you know what? Having been a husband and a father, and I recognize the weight of responsibility and pressure that can be sometimes. And it makes me look back to my childhood and say, hey, you know, you did the best with what you knew. And that's and I told him, I said, that's all of us are doing. We're doing the best with what we've got. And I said, I know you're probably not taught this, but give yourself a break, man. Be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up because that doesn't do anything but make you feel bad. At the end of the day, you've acknowledged that, you got some things wrong. And that's the first step. I mean, we all make mistakes. We're all human and we all have a certain amount of tools and we utilize them the best way we know how. But you can't be penalized for what you don't know,
yeah,
right?
right.
So it was really cool to talk as men
Mm,
as well as father and son.
yeah.
And now we're the best of friends.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's really nice. Yeah. Yeah, and also, like you said, in those days, it was not as common to think like how we're talking. I mean, I'm
right,
sure there were a lot of good, people who knew these things innately, but it wasn't as common. I mean, now it's very common to think like this, right?
right.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, it's all life lessons at the end of the day. We never stop learning. And, the day we think we know it all, really, this too shall pass. Yeah, that's why I don't really have time for arrogance, ignorance, because you never stop
Yeah.
and the second you think you know it all, you're done.
Yeah. What was speaking of these kind of things, what was one of your biggest, or well, I won't say biggest because you've had a lot of musical experiences, but
Mhm.
what was a musical experience that kind of, was a slap in the face? I'm like, whoa, oh, okay. Oh, I have to learn here. Okay.
Huh. Slap in the face.
A good slap in the face, but, just like,
Right.
hey, wake up, oh, okay.
A slap in the face. Don't know if I've had slaps in the face, but I've definitely had.
Now, maybe slap in the face was a bad, okay.
No, 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 no. I'm just thinking. I'm just thinking.
I mean, was there one that just like you suddenly realized, oh shit, this is a big lesson and I need to learn this like immediately.
Musically, I did have a moment a few years ago. I used to struggle to play to click many years ago. And it wasn't because I had bad timing. It's because at that time, the amount of people in the room would freak me out.
Oh,
And I would find it hard to ignore them and focus on what I was doing. And I had a moment one day, we'd done so, it was just, that's right, it was just before sound check. And I went into the arena by myself and I just sat there. I don't even think I played. I just sat there and just looked around at all of these empty seats. And I literally said to myself, this is what I have to imagine when I'm playing so that I don't get weirded out by it. And from that moment, everything changed. And I just committed to what I was doing wherever I was. And that way, it didn't matter who was in the room or who wasn't in the room, because in my mind, all these seats are empty.
yeah,
And I'm playing against myself,
yeah,
you know. Not a slap in the face, but just a huge lesson in terms of my mentality towards everything while I'm playing.
yeah.
And it just made me relax, you know. And people often think I'm upset when I'm playing, and I'm not. It's just my concentration face. Like, dude, smile while you play. I'm like, I'm focused. That's my face. Like, I'm a cool guy. I'm a happy guy. But when I'm playing, you know, my face is that. I can't do the whole Ricky Lawson bit. You know, so, well, I can't. It's just not me. Besides the fact I think I look stupid, I just can't, because now my focus is on what I look like as opposed to what I'm playing.
Yeah.
You know, to each their own.
Well,
Yeah.
that the focus is, I mean, I talk about that a lot with students,
Mhm.
especially vocal students, you know. They have trouble relating to the voice as an instrument
Right.
sometimes, you know. And so
Mhm.
focus, you know, somebody could be a good singer and then while they're singing, their focus can shift to I have to be emotional and I have to, you know, give this a certain way. And then they've
Right.
totally lost their connection to being the vocalist, the instrument, you know.
Right.
And
Right.
it's hard to teach that. You can
Mhm.
tell people that and you can work with them on it, but it's almost like a philosophical, like what we were saying before. It's
Mhm.
a head trip, and it's not necessarily a music thing that you have to work on. It's something else. You know, it's
Mhm.
like, you know, it's thinking, it's, you know, perspective. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever category you want to get that into.
Mhm. I'm always thinking about the song, and in the rare times that I have taught, I've told them, don't think drums, think music. Play the song.
Yeah,
It's enough, you know. Play the song. So when I'm playing, I'm thinking about the song. I'm thinking about, all right, I'm in the verse right now. The hook's coming up. Am I gonna do a fill? What's the music saying to me? You know, these are things I'm thinking about. Setups, breakdowns, you know, dynamics, you know. So when I'm thinking, my face looks like I'm thinking,
yeah,
you know, and I think it's important to keep things in context, because, you know, I respect everybody for what they do, and I know some amazing, technically gifted drummers, you know, phenomenal speed, chops, the ability to fill gaps, and mind-blowing stuff. I don't play like that. Not because I don't have the technical ability, if I was to sit down and work it out, but just because of the way I hear music. You know, I realized a few years ago that I have to be true to myself when I'm playing. Otherwise, it's fraudulent.
yeah,
You know, there's no point trying to sound like someone else or having someone else's. Like, why be someone else? They're taken.
exactly.
You might as well be who you are, you know, and that's just my approach to song playing. I'm always going to play the song. I'm always going to keep it in context and play what feels good, you know, and I think that's the point. It has to feel good beyond
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. I've gone through that too because there's jazz singing, you know,
Yeah.
lots of lots of especially now with the young people coming up, they can hear all kinds of stuff, sing all kinds of licks and timing. And so but I know what I have. I know who I am and I know what I can bring.
Right.
And it's not that. I don't like doing that.
Right.
I really don't. And I'm not the best at it because that's just not where my heart lies, you know. But yeah, listening to you in the studio was very satisfying. It was
Thank you.
yeah, it was really good. It was really adding to the music, the product, the overall song and the music and the time was great and you didn't overplay, which to me I love, especially in a
Yeah,
drummer, you know. You played with Chaka Khan for a minute, right?
I did. The first time I played with Sheka it's got to be over 25 years ago now. Um, yeah, she would. I played in a musical um, called Mama I Want to Sing.
Uh,
Um, it wasn't my gig per se. Um, my friend John Fisher was his gig, and I'm so sorry.
okay.
My phone's ringing.
I didn't even hear. I heard a little.
Okay, I'm just gonna tell him I'm on a Zoom.
Okay.
I'll call him back.
All right. And by the way, Peep, I see all your comments, but I'm just in the moment, so with Chris, so but it
Uh,
looks like I'm actually asking what you want anyway, so we're all on the same page.
uh, yes. So Shaka Khan, I was playing in a musical. John Fisher, it was his gig, good friend of mine, and I was the sub or the dep, as we call it in the UK. And Shaka was in it. And when I eventually did play and I was comfortable with the show, uh, we got to the final bow at the end, and she leaned over the stage to see who was playing, and she saw that it was me. And I'd heard that she was putting a band together as she was transitioning out of the show. At that point, we'd become friends, and I said to her, "I heard you putting a band together." She said, "Yeah." I said, "Have you got a drummer yet?" She said, "No, but it's probably gonna be you." And I said, "Oh, okay." And that's how I got the gig.
Oh,
Um, the musical director was Howard McCrary, a legend in the game.
Howard McCrary?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I know
yeah,
him from a long
yeah.
time ago.
Yeah, he was in the musical too, and
Oh, wow,
sweetheart of a guy, and
very much so.
yeah, it was great, and it hit me. It didn't really hit me until I was on stage with Shaka playing "I Feel for You," and I was like, "Oh my god,
I'm
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 quite
playing with the Shaka Khan," and it was incredible to listen to her voice as an instrument that never seems to have any lack. Just, I mean, I'm talking full voice all the time,
yeah.
and it was just amazing to witness. It really was, and I met Prince through her. Um,
Huh.
that was interesting. It was her 40th birthday, I think, and we went to Stringfellows in London, famous strip club, with all the male, strippers and whatnot. And I think we played that night in there,
Oh.
and everyone was like, "Prince is here, Prince is here." So I went out, and Prince was sat next to Shaka uh, around the entrance, and they're talking. Well, she's talking. He's whispering in her ear with his replies, so nobody could hear what he was saying. So I was like, "I want to meet him." And, it's Prince, for God's sake. So I'm looking at her like, introduce me, but she's not catching it. So I'm like, and then she looks at me and I kind of look like, you know, and she's like, oh, this is my drummer, Chris. I said, hey man, it's a real honor to meet you. And he had like this incredible white suit and he had a cane and he kind of had both hands on the top of his cane, just resting on the cane. And when I said, it's a real honor to meet you, he just went like this. He didn't say a word. I was like, so I was kind of like,
Okay.
okay, and bye. But yeah, it's just funny how things work out. I tell people all the time, my life on paper makes no sense. Check it out. Michael Blend, Prince's drummer, and Maurice Hayes came to see me, not me, but they came to the show and we met over 25 years ago. I'd been huge fans of Prince and the New Power Generation up until that point. And I remember walking out the theater and Michael Bland was stood around the corner, just stood there. And I walked out, I was like, Michael Bland. And he said, damn, you calling out my name like I stole something from you. I said, nah, it's just, you know, you're a hero to me and blah, blah, blah. Got chatting. Cut forward, some 30 odd years later, he's a dear friend. And I've played with the MPG several times, toured with them. Had I known then what I'd be doing later on, I would have never believed it, you know, but that's my life. The dots,
Yeah.
the connections, it's just unbelievable how it all pans out,
Yeah.
you know?
John Robinson and I went to college together and we had a band together.
Okay,
And shortly after college, he got into Chaka's band.
right.
So, and I mean, at that time, you know, that was the mid 70s. And that was when, for me, music was so kind of mind blowing because I was in Boston. We went to Berkeley together. And
Boston.
so I was, you know, there was the jazz I grew up on. There was the new jazz that I was listening to, like Miles and Weather Report, and then there was Motown and blues was big in Boston at the time too.
Right.
And so the whole it was so powerful. And Shaka, of course, was Shaka and Aretha for me was like there's nobody better than those two, you know.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, it was a really passionate time, and you know, every time I ever heard Shaka or saw Shaka, she always, like you said, she was always present, totally present in anything. Like that jazz record she did with Chick,
Mm-hmm.
that was like that was totally present, you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah.
so cool. She was, you know, she wasn't a jazz singer or a funk singer. She was a singer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was so cool. She was
That
just
part.
fucking great.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. I never got to play with Aretha, but I always loved her. She would sing from the pit of her soul, you
Yeah.
know. And what I like about that generation of vocalists is that they just tell the truth as they knew it.
Yeah.
You know, Shaka, she's not one to hold back on what she thinks about whatever said subject is, you know. But I actually prefer that because I don't like fake. I don't like phony. I'd rather the truth of what it is than the lie of what it isn't.
Right.
You know, it works for some people, it doesn't work for others, but I don't care. To thine own self be true.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, yeah. I haven't seen it for a while, but love it to pieces.
Um, so did you play with jazz groups at all?
No, I didn't. It's a genre I've always respected, but one that I never got into. I just never heard it like that from a playing standpoint.
Yeah.
And I respect the genre so much that if I needed to, I could fake, you know. But it's different just going through the technicalities of playing the genre and feeling it
Yeah.
in your heart. It's different.
Yeah.
You know, I can play a funk groove and it's just 2 and 4. Cut, cut. And I'll make you believe me because I believe it
Yeah.
when I'm playing it. And I think that comes across, believability comes across when you play with heart.
Yeah.
So because I knew that jazz wasn't my thing, I never even attempted it. I respected it and liked to listen to it, but many times I got called to do jazz gigs and I just said no immediately.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm not gonna go out there and try and wing it.
Yeah.
No, I respect the art form too much for that.
Besides Shaka, who is one of your favorite groups to play with?
Mhm.
Well, too many to name.
There's a few. Another connection to Prince was Rosie Gaines. I don't know if you know who she is,
Rosie
but
Gaines, yeah.
yeah, she sang Diamonds and Pearls.
Yeah.
And I played for her when I was still living in the UK. And the first rehearsal that we had at John Henry's in North London, she kept turning around while she was singing. And I looked at the MD like, uh-oh, am I doing something wrong? I don't think I am. It feels good. So anyway, I kept playing, I ignored it. She turned around again and I was like, okay, maybe she's not happy and now I'm starting to get paranoid. She turned around a third time. This time I couldn't hold it. I said, what? And she said, you play like Michael. The same Michael blend
Right,
that and that to me was such a huge compliment because Michael Bland to me he's one of my top 2 influences, the other one being Dennis Chambers. And I'm influenced by so many drummers, but I'd say those are the top 2.
Yeah.
Michael, in terms of just execution and power and playing with deliberate intent.
Yeah.
From the heart.
Yeah.
You know, is something that I aspire to. And it was the biggest compliment for me, you know. And she was a sweetheart. It was wonderful to play for her. And I'll never forget, I'd been on tour with another artist called Shola Amar, who was big in the UK. And I was tired, you know. When I'm on tour, I'm cool. I'm in autopilot. Let's get it done. But literally, the day that it stops, I mean, the day, my body knows it and shuts down, right? For at least 2-3 weeks, I'm sleeping, I'm getting rest, recuperating, all of that. I get a phone call from Rosie's manager. We need you in Scotland. I said, I'm not coming to Scotland. Said, dude, Rosie won't use anyone else. I'm not coming to Scotland. I'm tired. I just need to rest. Dude, please, I'm begging you, just get on the train. I said, train? I'm definitely not coming. He said, okay. Let me call you back. Let me call you back. I'm like, dude, there's no point calling me back. I'm not, hello? Great. On the phone. So he calls me back and he said, all right, bro, I'll fly you here. I'll fly you here. You get to the airport in Scotland. There'll be a car waiting for you. We'll look after you. I'm like, oh my God. He's like, dude, please, we can't move on because she refuses to use another drummer. I'm like, all right. So I pack my bag and I get on the plane. I get to Scotland. There's a limo waiting for me. right outside the exit, and I see the door open, and it's Rosie. I was like, you? She's like, hello, my son. How you doing? She used to call me son. That's how close we were. And we recorded, I think, four tracks for a solo album she was doing at the time. Experiences like that, they don't leave, because it's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice, you know? And I think it was Maya Angelou that said, people forget what you, oh Lord, what is it? They'll forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Oh,
I never forgot that.
that's such a truth.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, that's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately when you say that, people pop up, images pop up, and I
Right,
don't
right, right.
remember what they said. I
Right.
do
See?
remember how they made me feel,
Right.
like I was important,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been blessed to do many things, and I'm so thankful. And it always saddens me when the good ones go. I did 2 tours with Coolio, and it's the most, I'd go as far as to say it's the most fun I've ever had on a gig,
Uh,
because the whole perception of gangster life and whatnot, it was a facade. I mean, these guys were family men, you know, and just nice guys.
yeah.
And we had so much fun. In the beginning, it was challenging working out the cultural differences, because there were some. For example, I I woke up one day and I felt like wearing red. I don't know why. I just felt like wearing red. So I put on I had on a red bandana. I put on a red t-shirt, red trousers or pants, as you call them here, and red shoes, right? I pull up to rehearsal with Coolio. And I walk in the room and the whole room stops, like record scratch, looking at me. And I'm completely oblivious to anything. So I'm like, morning. The whole room's looking at me. Not the British guys, the American guys. They're looking at me, and all of their faces went from smiles to one of seriousness. I don't know what's wrong, but instinctually, everything inside me is saying,
Something's wrong.
something's wrong. I don't know what it is, but this is not good. So I'm stood there, and Coolio says to me, what's up, cuz? I said, nothing, I'm fine. How are you? Completely oblivious, not knowing that what's up, cuz is not like, what's up? Like, how you doing? It's what's up, cuz, like, there's a problem here
Yeah.
that we need clarification on. What's up, cuz? I'm like, nothing. I'm good. How are you? He's like, nah, what's up?
Like, what are you doing?
Right. I've got no idea. I'm a kid from Sheffield, England. I don't know anything about gang culture. So I'm like, completely in innocence. And I'm like, nothing. One of the guys could see that I completely didn't know what was going on. So he came over to me and he said, it's because you're wearing red. I said, what's wrong with red? He said, it's offensive. I said, a color is offensive. They're like, yeah, their color's blue. They have a color. I don't understand what this all means. So basically, it was different areas belong to different gangs, and those gangs had a color that represented that they were gang that they were associated to, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know, but the color that I was wearing was associated with the Bloods. I didn't know. So their color being blue and the gang being the Crips, it was a real conflict of interest, we could say. So once he explained it to me, the guy that came over to me, I was like, excuse me, everybody. Apparently I've caught some offense by the colors that I'm wearing. I didn't know. I've never been in a gang. I don't know anything about gang culture. You know, I'm just really sorry if I offended anybody. And one by one, you heard. And then everybody was on the floor, dying laughing at me because they could see I really didn't know. And on top of not knowing, I was scared to death. Coolio was like, don't wear that no more. I was like, I won't. I promise I won't. but yeah, it was so much fun on that tour. God,
God,
just
and they must have been amused that you just came out and like said it so sweetly and
oh,
innocently.
totally,
I'm
totally.
sorry, I didn't even.
I had no idea, and but they were totally cool about it, and that was one of the 2 instances where I thought I might die on the gig. The other one, we did a festival. It was us, I think Aaron Hall, and Junior Mafia, which was Notorious B.I.G., Lil Kim, and that whole crew. So the whole East-West thing was going on at that time. Coolio being from the West, Biggie and them being from the East, New York. So it was always kept separate, whatever. Biggie's bus breaks down. So the promoter comes to us and says, excuse me, guys. I don't know where it was from, but this is just the voice I'm using. Excuse me, guys. Junior Mafia's bus has broken down, and we want to know if there's a possibility of everybody sharing the bus, as we can't get a bus for another 4 hours.
Oh gosh.
So if that's okay. So they talked about it. Everyone was like, cool. So we sit down on the bus. Biggie gets on the bus. Coolio's not sat down yet. So as he's walking by to come to the back of the bus, they bump shoulders accidentally. And they stop and look at each other. I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die today. So I'm like, then they're like, cool. Biggie comes and sits right behind me. Lil Kim comes on, the whole crew come on. You can cut the tension on this bus with a knife. Deadly silent. And I'm like, Jesus, if you get me out of this, I made every promise that I could. So I'm on the bus in silence. We're traveling back to the hotel. Behind me, I hear, I'm like, oh my God. Biggie Smalls is behind me. The Notorious B.I.G. is behind me sleeping. Oh. Wow. So I turn around to look. He's looking right at me. Now I'm in a dilemma because he had a funny eye. So one eye was looking at me. The other eye was looking up there. I'm like, which eye do I look at? Because I don't want to offend him. But if I look at the straight eye, is he going to think I'm challenging him? If I keep my eye on the straight eye, is he going to think I'm being funny by ignoring the funny eye? If I look at the funny eye, is he going to think I'm being funny by looking at the funny eye? So these are questions I'm asking myself. So in the end, I just kind of slowly turned around.
Oh my God.
And nothing happened, but I was scared to death for the rest of the journey back to the hotel.
And maybe he was sleeping with his eyes open too, right?
He wasn't sleeping. He was just breathing. That's just how he breathed. He was looking right at me. And I was like, wow. But wow. I didn't die. I'm here with you, so clearly I live to tell the tale.
I have to say I had a boyfriend with a funny eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. His name was Harold Bennett. He was a flute player.
Wow, you remember his whole name.
Well, it wasn't all that long ago. It was like
right.
25 years ago or something. But
Okay.
yeah, the eye thing was, I mean, for me, it wasn't a problem, but you know, yeah,
Yeah.
when you have a funny eye, you don't know really where to look.
Right.
But
Right.
that situation is too funny.
Right. I can relate. I have a funny eye. I mean, it doesn't move in multiple,
Directions.
independent directions to the other eye. But when I was 16, no, I was 13 or 14. I used to play the trombone
Mm,
and I was in a brass band and everything.
yeah.
Took it seriously and loved it. And then one morning, I woke up with Bell's palsy
Oh,
and my whole left side died.
yeah, that's not good.
So I'm brushing my teeth and all the toothpaste is just falling out my mouth because I've got no muscles in
Yeah.
my mouth to control it. Mom! So she comes running up to the bathroom and we go to the doctor and he said, you got Bell's palsy. And I said, well, what causes it? He's like, there's no explanation,
Yeah.
up to this point. It just is what it is. So as a result, the muscles in my eye never came back to full strength.
Oh,
Um, neither in my mouth, which is why when I take pictures, it's always from this side.
oh.
Yeah. People don't know that. Well, they do now. But
I've known
yeah,
a few people with Bell's palsy. Yeah.
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 Hmm.
And yeah, it's a weird it's a weird thing that happens.
Yeah, I had to do ice therapy, so that have like a block of ice
Yeah.
wrapped in material or toilet tissue, or whatever, and I'd have to do exercises to try and jumpstart the muscles back in
Oh,
my cheek and around the corner of my mouth, my eye, my eyelid, down my nose, and even my forehead, because like when most people raise their
yeah.
eyebrows,
Yeah.
you see all the lines on both sides, but
Yeah.
this side wasn't moving. So
Right.
it was kind of like that.
Oh.
Yeah. So lots of therapy,
Wow.
but most of it came back in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you I'm looking, there's a few comments and stuff, but
Good
question.
ones, I hope.
Oh yeah, there's there's this young guitar player who goes to UNT and he asks great questions, but
Okay.
um he was, of course he's gone now. He had to go to class, but
Hmm.
I'm just looking at, well, this is, I mean, kind of already said this, but he said, "What are your thoughts on musical maturity in an artist? What
Hmm.
types of things should the younger generation work and strive towards?"
So many things. That's a loaded question.
I know.
Professionalism, context, leave your ego at the door, play
Yeah,
the song.
yeah,
Whatever your instrument is, play the song. You're not there to show off. You're not there to highlight your soloing skills. You're there to be part of a nucleus, an ensemble. Find where you fit and make it work.
yeah,
You know, um, when I say professionalism, I mean whatever songs you're given, learn them, do the homework. You're not going into rehearsal to learn the material. You're going in there to play the material that you've already learned. Don't be late. Don't be late. Ricky Manning said to me a long time ago, if I have to look for you, you're late. And that means don't be 5 minutes before downbeat.
yeah,
25 minutes, whatever. Say hi to everybody. Be relaxed, be cool. Make your adjustments on your instrument and put yourself in the mind space, um, or in the headspace to be comfortable enough to work,
hmm,
be cool to be around, you know. Those kinds of things count for a lot,
yeah,
and whatever you're doing, be confident in it, you know. I'll never forget Ricky Minor. I worked with him on an event for Patti LaBelle. It was a UNCF tribute to Patti LaBelle. And I couldn't read music at that time. and he had changes to make. So he comes in the room, morning, everybody, pull your charts out. I got some changes to make. You know those movie shots where the whole room just zooms in on you?
Yes.
That's what happened in my mind, because I had my little notes written out and I thought, I'm ready, let's go. But when he started to make changes, I didn't know what that looks like. So Kevin Ricard, an amazing percussionist and a great dude, he saw the look on my face. He said, let me see your notes. So I showed him and said, oh, all right, we're going to take 2 bars off this hook. There's a 3/4 bar and the second verse, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But by that time, I was already in my head.
Yeah.
So we continue playing, and I sound crap. I just sounded crap. I was all choked up. I wasn't comfortable. The drums didn't sound good. It was all going wrong. So we took it, and it was one of those things where, and musicians know this, everybody in the room wasn't saying anything, wasn't doing anything, but I could feel that between themselves, they were like, this don't sound good.
Yeah.
And I know, because I've been in those situations too,
Yeah.
where we know each other well enough to where we don't have to say anything if something doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
And we took a break, and he said, hey, Chris, I'm told you. I was like, yep, here we go. I'm fired. I'm fired. I've seen him fire people. He's got a job to do. It's not personal. I said, look, Ricky, he said, no. I can see that you're outthinking yourself because you don't read.
Yeah.
He said, don't worry about that. I said, I'm not fired? He said, no. He said, if I didn't think you could play, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
He said, don't worry about dots on paper. The only thing that I care about is that it feels good. And I was like, wow. Okay. And I took a huge lesson from that. Not as an excuse to not read, because I've upgraded since then. But, if you can have all the technical ability in the world, you can play all the information right. If it doesn't feel good, none of it matters.
Yeah.
So that's my intent with music, whatever the genre, just to make it feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the long, short answer to the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in feeling good, there's levels of that, right? There's layers and subtleties, and I guess do you must I mean, I've asked this question before. I remember when I was on a gig. I used to have a jam session here for 16 years, but the
Okay.
first 7 years was amazing.
Mhm.
Everybody came. It wasn't just a singer jam.
Right. Right.
It was like a great jam. And of course, the bass player always has the most difficult time because there's just not a lot of bass players who come and sit in,
Right.
you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that was the first time a bass player said he didn't like a drummer, and it actually got in my head like, oh, I thought it was great. I thought they were great. But there was something specific that he liked, for to play with a drummer, and it wasn't that. And I just had no idea before that. I was just naive. So
Mm.
I'm sure there's there's different things that you prefer. Do you prefer like kind of like what we're talking about, like mostly a good feel? I mean, feel is of course hugely important, but do you like when they fill in the bass players, or do you like when they're a little more simple, or is it even that? Do you just like certain guys, and that's about it?
Hmm. Well, first and foremost, the groove is everything.
Yeah.
And when a drummer plays with a bass player, and normally, well, let me personalize it. For me, it doesn't take more than 4 bars to know if we luck or not.
Yeah.
Um, and play a few bars and then look at each other like, yeah, we're good. It's that unspoken magic that happens. And then now and again, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, all right, well, let's just get through it. life isn't perfect, and sometimes the connection just it misses by degrees. Sometimes
Right.
my preference, I like a combination of groove with some magic sprinkled in every now and again, because when it's done all the time, it's there's no surprise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but when you're holding down the groove and then you pull out a slide or some harmonics or something, it's like woo, and then it inspires me, to do something later on down the line. And that's what it should be. It's communication, and I like the combination of the two. And I've been blessed to play for many amazing bass players, man. From Pino to Marcus Miller to so many others. I'm very fortunate. Andrew Goucher. The list is too long.
Yeah.
But that connection is crucial. It's crucial. There's a friend of mine I used to play with in Nashville, called Stacy, and my kick drum and what he played were like this. And from the first time we played a few bars, we'd just look at each other like, yep. And it was great, and that's what it has to be, when someone's all over the place and the groove is gone, I'm just like,
yeah,
inside. Like, I'll play and I'll still be professional, but in my mind, I'm like, this is dreadful. It's not a bass workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So feel is everything.
I want to play something else that I want to share you playing, so I want to go look for that again.
Okay, let's do Janet Jackson, which is the third one down. Control remix by Danya. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Technical issues.
Oh man. Sounded great.
Thank you. That laugh at the end was
Yeah.
because I was I was feeling it like this is gonna be the take. That's the one. But in the midst of that, I'm having all kinds of technical issues. My in-ears are falling out. There's something going on with the control knob. I'm having to fix things while I'm playing, and the bass drum's running away from me like Carl Lewis. I'm like, what the crap? So that's why you see me doing things while I'm doing the take and laughing at the end. Like, okay, we got through it.
That was great. That just yeah, it just made me think about how great. I mean, there's a lot of things that I like about a good drummer. There's
Mhm.
depending on what's being played and stuff,
Right. Hmm.
But when the drummer has time like yours, it's like there's something that it gets so turned on inside
Hmm.
to the listener and the other band members and the singer. It's like it's like a flame, It's just like, oh God, it's fantastic,
Well, thank you.
fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you. The backstory to that song, a dear friend of mine, Danye Goodman, uh, did uh, that remix, and it was program drums. No one had made an attempt to play it because the arrangements are a lot,
Yeah.
lots of stabs, lots of hits, uh, turnarounds. And he said to him, I said, "Hey, has anyone played drums on that remix?" They said, "Nah, they're scared." I said, "Can I have a shot?" He said, "Yeah." So he sent it to me without the drums. And I just listened and listened and listened. And that's how I tend to learn the best, just by repetition,
Yeah.
doing what I'm doing in the day. And it's just playing in the background subconsciously, it's going in. So by the time I got to the studio, I was ready. Like
Yeah.
I knew it verbatim, and I didn't need any notes or anything. And it turned out okay. I just played the song. I just played the song and listened to what the music was telling me to play. Um, yeah, and it worked out. It worked out. I got a lot of attention off of that and work too, um, which was cool. I just believed in myself enough to, you know, go and buy a hat, nice pair of glasses, and a waistcoat, and film myself, um, and just hit it,
Yeah.
and it paid off. Paid
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I've had a few like drummer experiences. One experience I had just a little gig, this was years back, and the only drummer I could get was a rock drummer, and
Mhm.
he didn't even own brushes,
Oh
and
wow.
so but he had a sensitivity to volume, and his
Hmm.
time was so perfect. I was absolutely in heaven. It didn't
Yeah.
matter. The time was
Right.
it's orgasmic. It's so fantastic.
Yeah.
And yeah, one other drummer there's a guy, I don't know if you have ever heard of Johnny Vodakovich.
I haven't. No.
He's in New Orleans.
Okay.
He's like a legend. His groove is like, he's a friggin' legend. And
Yeah.
I subbed on the Mississippi Queen, which was a steamroller on the
Yeah.
Mississippi.
Hmm.
And when he was the drummer, and I got up and started singing,
Hmm.
and it hit me so hard. I looked at the leader, like kind of like that, and he said, "I know." I didn't even say anything.
Right,
You
right.
know, he knew what I was reacting to. It was like,
Mhm.
oh my God, there's nothing like good time, man. It's just, it's incredible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like if the time's bad, nothing else matters.
Yeah. Did you, when you grew up,
Hmm.
as you were learning drums as a
Hmm.
kid, was it just how you felt, or did you study, or did you work on that aspect?
No, I didn't study. I went to church because I had no choice but to go.
Yeah.
Um, the way the conversation went was, we're going to church. Okay. And I sat at the drums one day and I just could play. And I remember at that time there was a gang of drummers. In church, if you don't hold your own, there's a line against the wall and they've all got sticks and they're ready to go. You screw up or you don't feel good, you're off. So I had to make sure that, I was good,
Yeah.
and I happened to like it. And in church, a lot of things happen on the fly.
Yeah.
Somebody will come up to testify of the Lord's goodness, and they decide they're going to sing the song that they wrote on the way in, which nobody knows, and you just have to roll with it. Or sometimes someone might have a favorite song that they want to, and you just have to go. And even if you don't know it, you better feel it out and quickly,
Yeah.
and that really just gave me and all the other drummers that came through church can relate to this. It just gave us a really solid grounding to be able to adapt quickly when we need to.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how handy that was until I was faced with situations like being on tour with Britney,
Yeah.
and literally minutes before we're going to go and play the show on stage, we hear Britney wants to do this song. I know we don't know it, but just listen to it on your headphones and we're going to play it in the show. So I literally had minutes to listen to this song that we're going to play in an arena in front of thousands of people, and everyone's got camera phones. And if I screw this up, it's going to be online in 2 seconds. You know, I got people already jealous because they didn't think I deserved the gig or whatever, and I don't want to give them an excuse to be right. But because of the grounding I had in church, I was able to listen,
Yeah.
make a couple of notes, but feel out the groove and the hits and what it wasn't a difficult song, but
Yeah.
the point I'm making is the grounding really helped, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Actually, one of my friends on here, Toby Simmons, she wanted to know um, about you working with Brittany. So maybe this is a moment you can.
Sure. Was there a question or was that
Yeah.
the question?
Oh, that was the question. Just
Oh,
talk about how it was working on tour, and she also says congratulations on all that you've contributed in the industry.
thank you. I appreciate that. Um, Working with Brittany was great. It was a real blessing because it was possibly the biggest gig in the world at that time. And I got the call because I'd worked with the MD before in the UK. He's a British guy, and we'd done many tours together. So the conversation, as far as me getting the gig, went like this: Ring, ring. Hello, Chris, it's Simon. Oh, hello, mate. You all right? Yeah, I'm good. Look, I'll get straight to the point. I'm doing Britney Spears. You want to do it? I said, yeah. He said, all right. See you in rehearsal in a few weeks. And that was it. That's how I got the gig, and I treated it like any work situation. Learn the songs
Yeah.
and play well and play in context and
Show up on time.
show up on time. All of that. It was great. I kept it professional. Um, I met her. We talked maybe 2 or 3 times for the entire tour, which lasted most of the year.
Wow.
She was nice to me,
Hmm.
and I remember we were in soundcheck, and she had her kids with her who were small at the time, and one of them was crying, and he came up to the drums, and it was kind of like put his hands up for me to pick him up, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So I looked at her and she's like, go ahead, it's okay. I was like, okay. So I picked him up and put him on my knee, and he put the sticks in his hand and playing, and he started smiling. He stopped crying and put him back down. And she's like, thank you. And she left. And the guys were looking at me like, I'm like, what? She's a human being. What do you want me to do? Like, not interact? Like, you know,
Yeah.
if she instigates conversation, I'm gonna talk. Other than that, it's business. Hi, how you doing? Good. And that's it. You know, keep it professional.
Yeah.
And yeah, she was a sweetheart to me. And she had a beautiful voice. And I remember one day in soundcheck, she sang a song that would normally be the vocals would normally be in Pro Tools, because you know she's dancing and whatnot.
Yeah.
Which most artists do that have heavy dance routines.
Yeah.
And I forget the song, but she sang it live.
Yeah.
And we all stopped and were just like, wow. You know, it's like, why don't you sing it? And it's just like, no, you know, okay. Well, it's what it is. But yeah, it was great. It
Yeah.
was great. You know, I think it's important to keep that line. And I remember I went to the pharmacy because I wasn't well. I think I had a cold. And when I came back, a lot of the acrobats and artists that do specialist things in the show, tumbles, and you'd have to see it to know what I'm talking about. They were looking a bit bummed out, sat in reception. And I said, hi guys. And they're like, hey, yeah, what's wrong? Something happened. And they said, yeah. I said, no, what's going on? I said, oh, Britney, you know, took all the dancers out to go bowling and have dinner. I said, okay, and? Well, we didn't get an invite. And for some of them, it was their first tour of that magnitude. And I said, I said, guys, look, you got to change how you're looking at this. This is a job. She's not your friend. She's your boss, right? If you get invited, cool. If you don't, cool. You're being paid to do what you love to do. And there's a lot of people with your talent sat at home. So be thankful for the position that you're in. Do your job, take your check, smile, and go home. And they were like, you're right. You're right. I says, I'm not trying to be preachy. I'm just offering a little bit of perspective so you don't have to feel so bad. You know, someone's working in the post office who does what you do.
Yeah.
You know?
That's cute. I've talked to somebody about that. I can't remember who it was, but it was a big star, and the star actually they ended up in tour in the person's homeland, and so the person was going to their mother's house for dinner,
Right.
and the star actually was like, "Well, I'm all alone. I'd like to come with you."
Right.
It's like,
Right.
"You want to come to my mother's house for dinner?" Yeah.
Right.
And they did, and then everybody in the neighborhood like came over.
Right. As you do.
Right. Yeah. But that, I'm sure that's not usual. Actually, that kind of brings up a question because you've worked with so many people like that.
Mhm.
Do you, let's see, I'm not even sure what the question is. It's something about what you've seen or learned from about the star's perspective, you know. Um, is it, do you think it's more difficult being a star, or it just comes with the territory like you and I, what we do? And it's just what they do, where they ended up, and how do you deal with it just as a human being, basically?
Honestly, I wouldn't want it.
Yeah.
I remember coming out of rehearsals with Britney at Center Station in Burbank, and I looked across the street and just a line of photographers against the wall with lenses that long,
Yeah.
snapping away. I can't imagine the idea of everything you do being under a microscope.
Yeah.
Because the likes of you and I, we get to work out our flaws, we get to work out our secret temptations, if you will, in private. You know, celebrities live in a fishbowl, and everyone can see what they're doing. And it's cool to have money and power and access to things, but unless they got security, they can't walk down the street on a sunny day and just enjoy the weather. They can't make a mistake, the same mistake that all of us make, and be given grace and mercy. Because apparently being a celebrity makes them less human. You know, I wouldn't want it, honestly. I like to be able to walk down the street on a day like this and not be bothered by people. You know, I if I had a choice, I'd choose anonymity all day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Were there were there some
You okay?
hold on.
Okay. Went down the wrong way.
I have a chronic cough that's been with me for years, but
Okay.
anyway. Um so were there a few stars, quote unquote, that who you really appreciated for, humanistic qualities?
Absolutely. So many. I've already mentioned Rosie, Shaka, Coolio, uh, Swing Out Sister,
Oh.
uh, Corinne and Andy, the sweetest people, you know. Took in a snotty-nosed kid from Sheffield who didn't know anything about anything, and they just saw the talent that I had and just welcomed me with open arms. And they were just nice to this day. You know, she's a sweetheart, and he's nice to me. And going back to what I said earlier, you don't forget how people made you feel. You know, it was a very enjoyable time playing with them. You okay?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, so many people, man. So many. It's honestly difficult, and I'm not saying this from an egotistical standpoint, I promise you, but
Yeah.
I've been blessed to play for so many people that sometimes I forget who I played for. And I remember writing out, names of people I've worked with, recorded with, toured with, whatever. I ran out of paper. And I was like, oh, wow, I've had a really blessed career. And I'm so thankful for it, And I think, and I was talking about this with a few of my friends that I toured with back in the UK. I said, man, we had it good, We had it good. We went from tour to tour. We were driving BMWs. We were the guys that everyone was talking about, and didn't realize at the time how good we had it until later on in life. Scenes change, music changes, the younger guys get the call, and then you start looking back like, you know what? I did have a really good run,
Yeah.
and I'm still working, and it's a beautiful thing, you know. Gratitude is everything.
Yeah.
It really is. When I look at John Blackwell and what happened to him, and that he's no longer here, it's just testament to the fact that you have to be thankful for what you have, because you just never know. From one moment to the next, from one breath to the next. Appreciate what you have. Excuse me. Get some water here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In the UK, I was on TV all the time. And Mark Morrison had a song called Return of the Mac. and it blew up, and he took really good care of us, and we were on TV all the time, and he sent cars for us. We didn't even have to drive. I've done some very unique things. Traveled the world a few times, had 3 passports. I know what it is to say I've been to Red Square in Russia. I know what it is to say I've walked the Great Wall of China. Well, most of it. I didn't make it all the way to the top. And when I was walking down, I quickly found that my legs weren't working. They turned to jelly, and I literally had to roll myself down down the wall. Oh my God. It was horrific. It took me
Really?
a long time.
Really? Is
Oh my God. Yeah. Because
because
imagine
you walked
being
too long or something?
hmm,
Because you walked too long?
pretty much. I'm still a big dude, but then I was even bigger.
Yeah.
And I'm walking, we're all walking as, as a gang, crew, whatever. And I got 3/4 of the way up, and I was like, I just remembered that I've walked up. There's no cable car to get me back down to the bottom. I've got to walk. I tried to walk, and my leg said, we got nothing to do with this process. Shaking. I was like, it took me so long to get back to my room. And when I did, I slept like a newborn baby. I was out. I know what it is to say I've ridden or rode the bullet train in Japan. I've done a lot. I've been a lot of places, and I'm just really, really, really grateful for the opportunities that I've had
Oh,
in
the
my
Japanese
years.
must have really gone kooky over you, I bet. I'm very familiar with Japan.
I love Japan. I've been there. Let me see, Ray Hayden, Eternal, Swing Up Sister, maybe one more. But what I loved about Japan, I'm a tech geek. I'm a tech nerd.
Uh-huh.
So the first time I went to Japan, camera phones were out then.
Yeah,
This is over 20 odd years ago,
yeah,
possibly 30 years ago. But the frequency was different,
yeah,
and all the instructions were in Japanese. So it didn't make any sense
yeah.
buying one, because I wasn't going to be able to use it here. They had the latest of everything. I came back with all kinds of headphones and cameras and useless crap I didn't even need. But it was great. The 2 areas that I liked the most were Ginza
Uh-huh.
and Akihabara,
Yeah.
because they had just,
Akihabara, yeah.
miles and miles of
Tech.
stores with the latest everything. And
Yeah,
while other guys were doing whatever they were doing, I got a underground map, figured out where I was going, and I was gone by myself.
yeah,
I've always been a bit of a lone wolf anyway, so I didn't have no problem doing that. I was just looking at all this amazing technology
yeah.
in these stores, and I came back trying to tell people, dude, and they've got these phones and they got cameras on, and you can see the person and they were looking at me like, okay, Chris. I was like, never mind, whatever. I'm just salty because you haven't been to Japan. Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
people are so cute, and they must have looked at you like, oh my God, tall, big black man, powerful, like they must have just wanted to you know,
yeah. There
gather
were,
around you and stuff, right?
yeah, lots of pictures and whatnot. They were very kind,
Yes.
very, very humble.
Hmm.
Um, and there was some things traditionally that were different.
Yeah.
Like, we went to a restaurant after a gig. I forget who it was with, but over there, you don't tip.
Right.
They won't accept it. So we have this amazing food at this Japanese restaurant. So we're getting money out and whatever to tip her. When she sees the money as we offer it, says, "Oh, oh, no, 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 no. And she's bowing and she's walking out the door backwards while she's bowing. We're like, no, 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 it's okay. It's a tip. We're showing gratitude for your. No, and she was gone. I was like, wow. And then the woman that was with us, translator, she was saying, it's not customary, and it's almost like almost offensive. I'm
Yes,
like, really?
yes,
Had no idea.
yeah. In my travels, I traveled over 20 years there, and I really liked the artists and the farmers. You know,
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, the business people were a little squirrely, because the culture is really, it's what it is, and it's an
Mhm.
island, came down from the feudal system, and women are like low on the totem pole, and
Right.
although secretly not, but
Right. 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 I know exactly what you mean.
but the artists and the farmers just I had a lot of really 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 nice experiences there.
Hmm.
I actually several times I wept like a baby leaving because I had made such dear friends, really
Yeah.
good people. And
Hmm.
I love teaching over there because the um well, most of the jazz singers are women,
Hmm.
and so they have that whole suppression kind of,
Yeah. Right.
in there, no matter how
Hmm.
good you are. And a lot of them are really good at jazz. A lot of them. And
Yeah.
um, so, like, if I say, like, wow, that was really good, that could start like a whole crying thing, because,
Right.
you know, an American jazz singer said I'm really good, and, all this other level stuff of like
Yeah.
bad, bad, bad,
Hmm.
But yeah, it's a really interesting culture. Really, really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. It's. I've seen some things that did disturb me.
Yeah.
Um, One example is I was in Indonesia. I forget who we're with. We'd done a show. Promoter took us to a restaurant. We ate and we were going back. It was blisteringly hot. This is like 1, 2 a.m. I'm talking about scratching your neck and you know that you're not dirty, but it's that hot, you're just itchy.
Yeah.
So we're in the van and we're going back to the hotel. And as we're driving, there's a group of kids on the side of the street. Trying to flag us down. So I tapped the driver. I was like, "Hey, they need help." It's like, "Oh no." I said, "No." They said, "No, they don't need help." I said, "What do you mean?" They said, "It's prostitute." And I was like,
Huh,
"These kids can't have been more than, God, 10,
huh,
11 years old." And it hit me so hard. I started crying,
uh,
at the reality of what they were doing, just to eat, and that it was just accepted.
yeah.
He said it like it was, oh yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I got tears running down my face. I was quiet for the rest of the journey. When you see stuff like that and examples of what real poverty looks like, and then you come back to the States and you hear people complaining about this business deal that didn't go down or whatever. It's just like you don't even know how fortunate you are.
So true, man.
You don't know because somewhere else somebody is the worst kind of destitute.
Yeah.
Like, it's unbelievable. So I'm glad I've got to travel and see some things.
Yeah.
It gives you a different appreciation.
It does. I remember feeling like really happy that I was living in the United States. Even
Hmm.
no matter where I go. I mean, it's great. I love Europe, you know.
Yeah,
Many times I've thought of living in Europe, but I'm glad I'm here. We
yeah,
have a lot of things that we can accomplish and do and make happen
yeah,
easily. you know. What places did you really enjoy from your world travels?
Japan,
Yeah.
the air in Sweden or Switzerland just felt so clean.
Mm.
Um, Australia, I love Australia. It's kind of like, imagine LA without the idiots.
I know. I was going to say that. My friend staying with me is Australian. She's a great
Okay,
jazz singer. She's from Melbourne. And,
yeah.
but yeah, it's you're right. It's kind of like LA, but it's like LA is up here, with all the blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Australia's kind of it's, it's here. It's like a little more sane or something, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Beautiful. Although I refuse to go on any kind of safari tour, outback. No, because Australia has the worst creepy crawlies known to man. Like, I'm talking about the worst spiders, the worst of anything that's got more than two legs. The worst of it is in Australia. And I determined in my mind, I'm not going because
I don't blame
certain things I see, I'll just doodle on myself and just die. I'll just die. I don't do bugs. Nope. Mm-mm. No, no.
Toby is asking about the Netherlands. I think the Netherlands are nice, but it wouldn't be the place I would pick to live in Europe.
No, no, I've been to the Netherlands. I got friends on. In fact, Rosie Gaines was living out there for a while.
Oh,
Um, so I went a few times. It's cool to visit,
yeah,
you know. But then, yeah, it's time to go at some point.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I probably would. I guess I would pick France or Italy. Italy it goes so.
really?
I don't know if I could take Italy, because they say the gig's at 7 and nobody shows up till 11. That kind
Right. It's okay.
of. Yeah, but the people are so cool and the food is great. But
Oh, the food's
France is
amazing.
pretty nice, I have to say.
I didn't have good experiences in France.
Really?
No, every time I went, it just never. I always had some racial thing that was going on. You know,
Wow, surprising.
yeah, they can be weird because it's not always about color.
Oh,
I'll explain what I mean. I lived in Canada for a few years when I did Cirque du Soleil, and I had friends that were from Quebec City, and when they would go to Paris, the people there would be weird with them when they tried to speak French
oh,
because the accents,
yeah.
it's a little bit different, and they're purists or whatever. And a friend of mine went and asked for directions for somewhere,
Yeah,
and he figured, I speak French.
yeah,
I'm in Paris. I'll just say it in French.
yeah.
So yeah, some woman for directions. I got to take my glasses off to do this facial expression. So he said whatever he says. Yeah, and she said, just speak English. And I was like, wow, really? She said, yeah, they're weird like that. So yeah, it wasn't my favorite. Italy though, I loved it. Just breathtakingly beautiful.
Yeah.
And the pizza, oh my God.
I know the food there is, I don't, magical or something.
It really is. Like, to have that pizza that comes out of that traditional fire pit oven,
Yeah.
nothing like it. And it tastes everything tastes different,
Yeah.
you know. And I loved it. I loved it. I went with Coolio. Um, again, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. And we couldn't work out how come a lot of the white girls over there have big butts. So we asked somebody, how come the white girls over here got big butts like black girls? And one of the workers said there was a warrior called Hannibal centuries ago who was black. He rode elephants. and they went on the European invasion,
Uh,
and they came through Italy and bedded a lot of girls. So it's in the blood. I was like, wow.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, didn't know that.
We were just talking about butts yesterday. My Australian friend and my husband and I, and we were saying how now, like she has a daughter who's 17 and
Mhm.
she's very slender and stuff. She doesn't have a butt,
Right.
and she wants a butt.
Yeah,
She wants, like, so now it's like it's a desired thing to have,
absolutely.
you know, where a
Absolutely.
few years ago it was like,
Yeah.
but
Well,
that's interesting. I didn't know that. But I can see how the races mixed in Italy. You can see it in,
yeah, yeah, you can.
yeah.
Yeah. So it was cool to get clarification on that because it was driving me nuts. I was like, I know I'm seeing something, but I just need someone to explain what's going on. Yeah. So it was cool.
You know where else has
And
great food is Yugoslavia.
now
That
I haven't been there.
the earth or something is very rich, and
Mhm.
they're a real meat um, kind of, people. So they cook meat outside over the pit, and it tastes really different. And but the vegetables are amazing. The butter is even unique.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something different about that food too.
Yeah. Brazil's like that too. Um,
Brazil.
yeah.
In Brazil, yeah.
Went to one of those restaurants that is I forgot
Oh,
what you
like
call it.
meat, right?
Meat, meat, meat. Oh my, I went into a meat coma. I was like, I don't want any more. Don't bring any more.
Oh my God. Have you spent
Yeah.
time in Brazil?
Yeah. I went with Nick Jonas, and it was interesting. Uh we got called into the office in rehearsals. Um Production manager said, now look, I know that some of you here have done some really big gigs, um, played to thousands of people, but you're not ready for what's about to happen. And I kind of looked, and Ralph, he said, I know, Britney Spears and all the things on your resume, but I'm telling you, you're not ready for what's about to happen. Nick is like Jesus in Brazil.
Oh wow.
I said, are you serious? He said, yeah. A lot of people don't know that most of the Jonas Brothers market is in South America.
Oh
They do well in the States, but South America, he's like Elvis.
wow.
I'm like, wow, okay. So we get to Brazil and we're barricaded in the airport. We can't get out. Like, when you walk around the corner and there's like a glass,
Yeah.
thing, one end to the other, screaming fans. And
Wow.
by the time we got there, they knew our Instagram, they knew our Twitter, they knew everything about us. It was crazy. We had to be ushered out the back into cars. Then we got chased by paparazzi. It was crazy. Like, I was like, what the crap is going on? Rob was like, see? I'm like, all right, you were right. The next morning, after the first night's check-in, I wake up like, open the curtains, get some daylight in, open the window. I look downstairs, there's a sea of fans. When they see me, they're like, and I'm like, what the crap is going on? Why are they here? How long have they been here? How many people is that? It was, honestly, it was insane. It was insane, but some of the most fun I've had. And Sonny Thompson was on bass. Who's Sonny Thompson? The bass player for the MPG who played with Prince and taught Prince how to play guitar.
Oh boy.
You see what I'm saying? My life on paper makes no sense. The way the dots connect, it's crazy.
Crazy. How long a tour was that?
Uh, it was a few months.
In
We
Brazil?
yeah, we went to different places in that region.
Yeah.
I think we did some US shows as well.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, Nick is a great dude. what surprised me about him the most was the wealth of musical knowledge that he had for somebody so young.
Uh,
Just a very cool, calm disposition, you know.
yeah.
He'd walk in like, morning, gentlemen. I'm like, gentlemen, who is this kid? You know, but he knows what he wants and can really play and can really sing and can really write, doing the thing, you know. And it was great. It was great. A lot of fun. A lot of fun.
So were the crowds in Brazil huge? It sounds like they were
Yes.
probably, yeah.
Yes, they were. And I remember this one gig, and I'm sure Nick wouldn't mind me saying this, but he's diabetic and his levels were high that day. And when your levels are at a certain point, if you drank a lot of fluid that day, you're gonna pee yourself unless you go. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
So we're playing in Brazil. There's a sea of people, and Nick turns around and he's doing this, and we're like, "Oh, what's?" So he's like, "Yeah." He said, "Guys, I have to use the bathroom right now. I'm gonna pee myself. Play something, anything. I'll be right back." Runs up, so he runs up stage. There's a sea of people. I'm like, okay. So Sonny starts to play, just anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. Guitarist joins in, and it was just, we just created literally on the spot. And everyone's like this, and it was one of those magical moments, but it was great.
Back, it was great.
Yeah. And came back and we continued the set, and it was great. You can't buy moments like that.
No, isn't that, see, that's so cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
Improvisation. So Toby's asking if, is there someone that you'd like to tour with that you haven't toured with?
Sting.
Oh, that would be good.
That is my dream gig of all time.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, he's had amazing drummers, everybody from Manu to Vinnie,
Yeah.
you know, to others. And, you know, that would be some huge shoes to fill. But, you know, he's a genius and an amazing songwriter, and his music is and always has been incredible. I remember watching Bring Out the Night, I think it's called, with when it was Brentford Marsalis, Kenny Kirkland,
Yeah.
Omar Hakim. I forget who was on bass, it slips me, but it was unbelievable. You know,
Yeah.
he's always been incredible to me, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see his show, The Last Ship?
Sting show?
Yeah.
No.
It's a theater piece, you know, it's a musical.
No.
He wrote about where he grew up and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I mean, it's a story, but it's based in truth, you know, about the shipbuilding and what they went through and
Mm-hmm.
how the government, you know, whatever they did. And, but it was so cool. And he was so, I mean, he had a leading role, but it wasn't about him. It was about
Right.
the story, the
Right.
music. He was you know, he's a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
It was
He
just
is. He
amazing.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely one of my favorite. We're almost over, by the way. You know
No,
what?
that's fine.
It's almost been 2 hours.
Really? Wow.
Isn't that amazing? When I first said 2 hours, you were like, "Oh wow, 2 hours." I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, you know, when you're having good conversation,
Yeah.
time flies by. I met Sting.
Oh,
Yeah, I was doing what was it? I was doing something with Mary J. Blige. It wasn't live, you know, we were miming. But Sting was part of it, and a couple other people. And I came out my dressing room, and out comes Sting, walking out of his dressing room with his cup of tea. I was like, I lost all my cool points that day. I mean, all of them. In fact, whatever cool points I had, I'm pretty sure I was negative that day. I was at least -6, right?
yeah.
So I walk out and there's Sting, and I'm like, oh my God, Sting. That's exactly how I said it. I was like, Inside, I was like, "You idiot!" And I'll never forget. He said, all right, calm down." And I'm like, even that was cool.
Oh God, that's funny.
But yeah, he was a nice guy.
Totally cool. Totally cool. Great writer.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
have a few songs of his in my book. I mean, they're great.
yeah,
He's great, and his acting is great. He's really cool. Well,
yeah.
on just kind of coming to a conclusion here, I want to know, is there anything going on right now that people can, go, oh, there's Chris Bailey, right?
Well, nothing out of the ordinary at the moment because I'm moving to a new place and new recording setup. Got some things in the pipeline. Um, and slightly different direction than drums, which is it's quite surprising. I stumbled into songwriting.
Oh,
Yeah, and just being honest, for me, it was more about therapy than anything else.
uh-huh.
The pain of divorce and just some things that happened in life that didn't feel good. It started out as poetry, and then I heard a melody one day and started tinkling around. Before you knew it, I had a song and played it to some friends, and they were like, "Dude, that's cool. Who's the artist?" I'm like, "It's not really an artist." I'm like, "Well, who wrote it?" I'm like, "Me." They're like, "No, seriously, who wrote it?" I'm like, "Me." They're like, "What? You don't write?" I said, "Well, I guess I do now." And you're like, "Okay, cool. Who did you get to sing it?" Uh, Me. What you mean? I'm like, "Well, there was no one else around, and who's gonna hear my idea better than me?" So it's like, "So you want to be an artist?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't want to be on stage or nothing like that. But I do like to write, and it's been an ongoing process, just developing it. And it's an art form that I really respect. Not one that I take lightly. And I'm a student of the game. I'm constantly learning, and there's so many different ways of writing um, that I observe. Especially today with trap music and different things. But I'm okay with what I'm not able to do.
Yeah,
You know, um, I'm okay with writing full songs that have a change in them. Bridges still exist. As opposed to a 4 or 8 bar loop for the entire song. I'm conscious about content
yeah,
and relatable subject matter.
yeah.
And I'm enjoying the ride. I'm enjoying the process. Um,
Cool.
gonna get a vocal coach. Hint, hint. And
I love teaching musicians.
yeah,
They
and
get it.
work on that. So yeah, why not? If you can do a few things, why not?
Yeah,
Just put your hand to it and see what happens. I've taught myself everything that I can do so far. I've had help along the way, but you know, it's kind of cool to be able to do sessions for myself, engineer myself, mix myself, do a
yeah,
bit of mastering. And if I'm honest, most times the things that I've learned was because I was waiting for someone to show me who never showed up.
yeah,
So a lot of times we've got the ability to get things done.
yeah,
You just have to believe it.
yeah. Wow, well, that's cool. I look forward to hearing your songs
Yeah,
and also
we'll
hearing
get
you sing
together.
them too. Yeah. Um, just a note to those listening. I had a guest, a special Thursday that I was doing, but we moved it to Friday. So he's a bass player and a composer and a big band leader, Igor Kogan in
Hmm.
LA. He's going to be on Friday instead. So, and then the other days I have archives happening. And if you're in Los Angeles tomorrow night,
Hmm.
I don't know if you know this. I don't know. I don't think I talked to you about this, but I I kind of have been stirring up some jazz for this kind of classic venue called Kulak's Woodshed in North Hollywood.
Okay.
They've been around 23 years, and but
Okay.
mostly supporting singer-songwriters and acoustic rock, and some famous people have passed through there. It's a weird space because it's really a video recording place.
Okay.
And they make great videos, 6 camera videos, and they have a Pro Tools running. And
Oh, nice.
so I've stirred up some jazz there. And so Thursday night, really a really great guitar player, Tom Rizzo, jazz guitar player, and
Okay.
his band, Adam Cohen and Kendall Kay and Scott Bredman. So, and there's no cover that
Hmm.
night, because he's kind of really doing it for the video and all that stuff. And
Okay.
also on Sunday, if you guys feel like going over to Burbank to the Musicians Union, they've been having a 3 weekend jazz festival that lasts like each day it's 12 to 5, I think. And
Okay.
Sunday, I will be over there with my Nonette, which is really cool. It's great arrangements written by my bass player, John Leftwich, who you and he would really get along.
Okay.
Um, but anyway, it's really interesting. And we have all like a bunch of different music. I've written some lyrics to some like Monk tunes and Schofield tunes. And
Oh, cool.
yeah, it's really fun. And so we're on, and I have to say, I don't know what time we're on. I think we're on at 1, but it's
Okay.
runs from 12 to 5. It's free. And then I really want to encourage people listening to come to Kulak's that night because we're starting something called Creative Night, and which is it's basically collaboration on improvisation. And
Oh, cool.
yeah, instrumentalists, vocalists, actors, poets, dancers. We want
Mhm.
everybody to come together and create together for a few hours. And it's led by a woman who has experience leading stuff like this, really good flutist named Ellen Burr.
Okay.
So Sunday, we're going to be doing this like once or twice a month at Kulak's. You can just look at Kulak's website for when that is. But so that's what's happening this week.
Okay.
And thanks for being on, Chris. It was really fun speaking with you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for asking me. I really appreciate it.
I can always tell how it's going to go at the beginning because
Really?
if I start asking people right away, like about what they've done,
Mhm.
then it's more like that. It's more like a laundry list. But when we
Right.
start talking about, perspectives, then
Right.
I'm
Right. Right. Yeah. I think it just, you get older and you just start to see things differently.
like,
Yeah.
I have to say though, yesterday I spoke to this young piano player. I think
Hmm.
he's 30, Ben Rosenblum.
Hmm.
What a cool headspace, man.
Yeah.
Humble and mature and speaks so user friendly about musical ideas. And
Hmm.
it was, I mean, he was really not, your typical kind of idea of, speaking
Right.
to a young musician. Very
Right.
mature. Yeah, really nice.
Cool. 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 Cool.
All right, thanks, man.
You're so welcome. My
Have,
pleasure.
have a great rest of the day.
You too. We'll talk soon.